So, I'm just going to go right into it. So let's welcome Theresa Laurico to the stage.
Wow, this is like, whoa, this is kind of cool. Hi everybody, thank you for having me. And I can't see any of your faces, so this is kind of cool. I feel like I'm just somewhere talking to lights, which is awesome. My name is Theresa Laurico, and I'm an entrepreneur. I worked in the media industry for 8 years or so. And I'm going to talk to you really quickly about facing my fear. This year, last year, 2011, and recently, I faced the biggest fear that I've had in me for the last 10 years. I always had this dream of creating something that would move and inspire entrepreneurs. And at the time, I called it Movers and Shakers. And then a contest, I never did anything about it. And one day when I was working in television, I'm like, is what I'm doing worth my life? When the answer was no, I knew there was a change that had to happen. And Project Wildfire was a contest that happened in the city, and you get $25,000 if you put your idea in a 90-second video. So what I did was, I put myself in this video, and I told my dream called Socialite in a 90-second video, and basically, the word socialite, I wanted to rebrand what that was. The traditional socialite is somebody who is valued based on their things they own, the Mercedes or everything. I spelled it L-I-G-H-T, saying that the new socialite is an actual light in the world, and light is an acronym for Leader Impacting Global Humanity Today. And I wanted to mix Oprah with MTV meets TED. And I put my idea in a 90-second video, released it to the world, and I lost that contest. And I think I cried for 3 hours or something because I felt like I was pregnant with this idea, and then I didn't have the courage to actually go and make it happen. And when you give birth to that thing that's inside of you, it's a very spiritual process, if you even believe in any of that. And it's one thing when you have your fear and you see it and you're like, what's up, fear? I see you. And it's another thing when you're like, hey, fear, let's dance. Me and you, let's dance. And it's another when you actually get to know and you fall in love with that fear. And another when you actually act despite your fear. And then another when you actually publicly declare that fear to the World Wide Web. There is no turning back after that. The minute, if you think about a fear that you have, and anything that you have, like I want to lose 20 pounds, or like, what's a fear you have?
Me?
Yes.
Snakes.
Snakes. Awesome. So if you were, and what's a fear you have?
Writing, sorry.
Raining?
Writing.
Ranting.
Writing.
Oh, writing. Sorry, I totally am like, what? Awesome. And what's a fear you have back there? Anything. Something, you've got to be scared of something.
Me?
Yeah.
Oh, spiders.
Spiders. Awesome. Okay. So imagine you declared something, and you put it on the internet, that you said, I'm going to a snake farm on July 31st. And I know. And that's what I'm doing. Or if you told your friends and you got a circle of 5 friends and you said, you text them and you're like, guys, I am writing my first story, 1 paragraph, and I'm sending it to you on August 31st. The minute you declare that thing that's inside of you, it no longer owns you. And the minute you declare it publicly, it's a whole other ball game. So what ended up happening with Socialite, I lost that contest and asked for a brick. And the reason I asked for a brick was because I thought of the 3 little pigs. When the first pig built his house, he built it out of straw. And what did the big bad wolf do? He blew it down. And then the second pig built it on wood, and then the big bad wolf blew it down. The third built it on bricks, and the big bad wolf couldn't blow it down. So this was my promise that he couldn't blow it down. And this is my promise that with Socialite, I was going to build this business from scratch, roll my sleeves up, and build it brick by brick. And 6 months later, I launched at the Metro Convention Center. 1,000 entrepreneurs came. Richard Branson opened it up for me. I interviewed Seth Godin and Tony Hsieh, and we moved people from being profit-driven only to embodying people, planet, profit. So it was like huge. And then, 6 months later, I ended up meeting with Oprah, actually, and got to share the streams. It was really awesome. But what I'm here today is to share, so the things that can happen when you actually not only dance with your fear, you announce it publicly is huge. And I was at the Lean Startup Machine because I'm a serial startup entrepreneur. I walk into Lean Startup in high heels. Okay, I don't know if anybody knows Lean Startup? Yes? No? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, so I walk into this room, okay? Do you know that song, One of These Things Just Doesn't Belong Here? You know that on Sesame Street? So I walk in, and I'm like, I really thought I was going to a normal entrepreneur event. I walk in, and there's like 100 guys, and like all techies. So I'm like, in my high heels, I'm like, I don't know if I should be here right now. Like, I think, it was this feeling of one of these things just doesn't belong here. And I remember saying to myself, you know what, I'm here to learn. It's a 3-day, really intense workshop where you get to learn the lean methodologies by Eric Ries. And I'm in line, and I'm standing there, and then all of a sudden, the universe, because I believe things happen for a reason, Todd is standing right in front of me. And Todd turns around, and he knew someone, bless you. And he turned around and he goes, so do you have an idea? Are you going to pitch an idea? The idea is everybody in the room, I think there's only maybe 50, 60 of us, you have to pitch an idea. You don't have to, but you can. And if your idea gets chosen, you actually use that idea, you build a team, and you compete for the best lean startup idea. So he goes, do you have something that you want to pitch? And I'm like, yeah, but I was feeling really intimidated because there's all these guys in the room and techie, smart people that I was like, no, I just want to be on someone's team. I just want to learn at this weekend, and that's what I want to do. And I didn't know anything about Todd. I had never met him in my life. And he literally was like, so let me get straight, you're scared. And I'm like, yes, I'm very scared shitless right now, to be honest. I'm a little bit scared, yeah. And so I'm just going to sit down in my chair over here, and nice to meet you. And he's like, no. And he goes, you don't understand. He's like, you see, I'm leading a workshop on facing your fear, and he explained who he was in the context, but more, he really stood for me to face my fear. And to not only face it, but because I was scared, the very reason, just that alone, you're scared, that means you need to get up and do it. And I'm like, oh no, I'll just sit over here. And, but then I don't know, you're sitting in the seat, and then things are playing, I'm like, fine. So then everybody gets up. I'm like the third last person to get up. So I get up and I'm like, hi everybody. So I have this idea for a calendar, an aggregated calendar, because entrepreneurs were going to 50 different sources to find out the best events that are relevant to us. And yeah, okay, thanks. And I'm like, I just like sit down. And then all of a sudden, people vote on the top 10. And I actually thought that only 3 would get chosen. So we all, stand up, and then the whole room has to vote who they liked, who they didn't like. And for some reason, I made top 10. And I thought it was supposed to be top 3, and they're like, now you have to go compete. I'm like, shit, I'm not supposed to do that. So then I'm like, okay, let me just go into this corner room. And then I go into the corner room, and I stand there, and then this flock of guys come. And I'm like, oh my gosh, what am I supposed to do? And we basically had to narrow it down, and I had to learn how to fire someone in 10 minutes. I felt like Dragon's Den, like, who are you? Who should be on my group? And so within the first hour of being at the Lean Startup, I had to face my fear, I had to fire someone, I had to, not be discouraged at the fact that it was all mostly men, and really just own who I was. And in that moment of facing my fear, what opened up and what became available to me is our team won the Lean Startup Machine Weekend. So that was awesome. And you see this picture of like all guys and one little lady, like bright fluorescent orange. And so now the opportunities that are available to us are huge, because we're now going to build a product. We actually proved there was a market. And most of all, we learned so many things, and that's the biggest takeaway. In your lifetime, if you can know your best self, why not take that risk? Why not actually be like, okay, fear, I see you, let's tango. And then try it on. Try actually making whatever that is public, so that maybe that fear won't be there anymore and other opportunities can open up for you. So thank you, and that's my story.